Hello there and welcome. In this episode, we're going to continue working on the shopping system. For now, we created a dialog UI so we can interact with the NPC, but we also need to actually be able to buy things and sell things. And in this episode, we're going to focus on the buying system. So in order to make this episode shorter and not waste your time, I'm going to provide you a few scripts and also some UI that I created. Obviously, you can use your own UI that fits your own game. You can find a link in the description for the asset Unity package that I created. So you're simply going to download it and then we can drag it into the shop system over here. So I'm going to drag it inside. Now it's going to ask me to import all of these things. You're going to get a prefab, two scripts, and another prefab. So we're going to import. Now it probably gave you some kind of error, so we can simply go inside. And it's probably because this is private, so let's change it to be public and let's save. And then also go into the dialog mode and make it public. And for some reason, it imported it into the assets folder instead of the shopping system. But it doesn't matter, we simply go into our episode 53 assets. So what we want to do is add this buy panel into the UI. We're going to open our inventory screen, and this is just so we can see where it is and then add the buy panel next to it, because we're always going to use both of them together to drag things from the inventory into the buy panel. Now we're simply going to drag the buy panel into the canvas, and it's going to appear over here. Again, this is just because I created it in my project. If you're going to get some kind of weird thing, just make sure to position it wherever you want. Obviously, in your game, the UI may look different. Maybe you want to have it take the entire screen, but I placed it over here next to the inventory, and I also set the anchors so it will be persistent if I change the different resolutions. So we can unpack it from being a prefab, so now it won't change the actual prefab. And inside we have a back button, and we also have a scroll view with a viewport over here. And now we can add these shop items inside, and this will display a list of items that we want to be able to buy. Now, if you remember, inside the shopkeeper script, we have a reference to the buy panel UI, but because we did not have it before, we are going to add it over here right now instead of this day UI. So we're simply going to take this entire buy panel and drag it over here as a reference. We also want to click on the buy panel and make sure that all of these references are set. So we have the content, which is this content. We have the shop item prefab, which is this prefab. And we also have a reference to the back button over here. And we also need the shopkeeper script, so we're simply going to drag our shopkeeper into this slot. We also have two lists over here, but we're going to go over it when we enter into the script. It's basically a list of things that we can buy, and we can also have lists for different seasons. For example, if you have different seeds that are going to be able to be bought in the summer or in the spring, so maybe you want to separate these lists. Of course, this is optional. You can always have one list that will be permanent for things that you can buy in this shop. Now we're going to double click on the buy system, and inside we have this script. So it's also a singleton because sometimes we want to access it from different locations. We have a reference to the shopkeeper, we have the references that we saw before, and we have a list for the current items that we can buy, but we also have optional season lists. So if you have different seasons, you can basically just create more lists for the summer list or winter list. You can also do this with different events. Maybe you're going to be able to buy some items at level 10, but at level 20, you want to have a different list. Okay, so you can say level 10 list, or let's say level 10 list, and then you can also have a level 20 list. And then you're simply going to change between these lists when you reach level 20. Okay, so this is all optional. We're simply going to have this spring list. And then in the start method, we're going to have an on-click listener for the back button. And this will call this method the exit buy mode, which basically just closes and goes to the dialog UI. Another thing we want to do is to change the different lists depending on the season. Again, this is optional. We're simply checking the current season with our time manager. And if the season is spring, we're going to set the current shopping list to be the spring list. And then we're going to initialize the list by providing it into this method. And this method will simply run and loop over this entire shopping list, and it will instantiate these shop item prefabs, and it's going to set all the different data, the name, the picture, and the price, and it's going to take all of these things from the data that is saved inside of this list. Okay, so it will basically take this prefab and it will instantiate it into the list according to the actual list that we have over here inside the buy panel. For now it's empty, but we're going to add some items to it in a moment. And that's basically all. We have this class over here for the shop item data. So it contains the price of the item, but it also contains a reference to the inventory item. So we are going to be able to instantiate it and add it into the inventory and obviously collect different information from this inventory item. Next, we're going to open our shop item slot script, and this is sitting on any prefab that is going to be instantiated, and this will allow us to actually click on this button on this slot and buy the actual item. So we have references for different things, for the button, for the sprite, for the name, and for the price. And we also have the data that is going to be contained inside of this prefab. So when we click on the button, on the buy button, it's going to run this buy item method, and this will simply instantiate this inventory item, and it's going to add it into the inventory using this add to inventory method that we have and that we are always using when we adding new items into the inventory. Another thing that we also want to do is disable the buy button if we don't have enough money to buy the item, right? Now, at this point in the game, we still don't have any kind of currency and any kind of money. So that's what we're going to do for now. This thing over here is just for testing. It's not practical in any way. We want to actually add some currency into our game. So we're going to uncomment this part, and this will be our current money. This will be some kind of float or integer inside our inventory system. So it will be named current coins, and as we can see, it's still not a thing. So we're going to click over here and generate the field inside the inventory system. So now if we go into our inventory system, we can see this current coins field over here, and this will basically hold all of our coins. Now again, if you have multiple coins, you can play around with this. You can have gold coins, silver coins, you can call this credits, you can call this money, you can call this whatever you want. This will basically be our currency. So our inventory system will hold on to it, and now we can reference it inside the buy system, actually inside the shop item slot. So we don't need this anymore, this hard-coded value. And now inside the update method, it will always check the amount of money that we have. And if this item price is lower or equals the current money that we have, we're going to make the button interactable. But if we don't have enough money, then it's going to make it false, and we are not going to be able to buy this item. Okay? Because this script is going to sit on all of these shop item slots. Let's just let it save it. So it's going to sit over here. And if we don't have enough money to buy this item, we are not going to be able to click on this button. It will not be interactable. As we can see over here, we're going to set the interactable part of it to be false. Now, when we buy this item, we also want to actually decrease the amount of money that we have because we are buying it, right? So we need to pay for it. So over here, this will run only if we have enough money. Otherwise, we won't be able to click on it. But when we have enough money and we click on it, we're going to decrease the price of this item from the current coins. Okay, and remember, this will only run if we have enough money. So we don't need to check if we have enough money because we probably do have enough money. Okay, this will be called only if we have enough money. So now that we see what these scripts are doing, we can go over here and we can actually start adding things into these lists. So we have the buy panel and we can add items into the current list. Actually, we're going to add it into the spring list because the current list simply holds the relevant list, but the seasonal lists will be the ones that are going to get set. As we can see over here, the current list is going to be replaced with the spring list. If you don't want any optional lists and you only want the current shop list, then you're simply going to delete all of this and you don't need to do all of this. So you can simply comment this out and you're simply going to use this current shop list. Obviously, you need to take this out over here. So at the beginning, you're going to initialize this current shop list and this will be your actual list. But because we're using the seasonal lists, we're going to, let's just uncomment this and uncomment this. And we're going to set the items over here instead of over here. So now we're simply going to add, let's say, 2 elements. And we can see these 2 elements. So we need the inventory item and the item price. We're going to be able to buy different items. But for this example, we're going to use our seeds. So you remember we created the seeds for the planting system. We have all the different items inside the resources folder. So we're simply going to take our, let's see, pumpkin seed and drag it over here into this inventory item. And we also have the tomato seed and we're going to drag it over here. Obviously, if you want to be able to buy other items, for example, a storage box or an axe or something like that, you just need to add more elements and drag them into the inventory item. Now we also need to set some kind of price. We're going to make the pumpkin seed 15 and the tomato will be 10. Okay. Obviously, this is not the best way to create a pricing system, right? Because maybe you want the price of these items to be influenced by different events. You want this price to be dynamic. So for example, I don't know, you leveled up or you did some kind of quest for this NPC, then maybe he's going to sell you these things in a lower price. So you don't want to hard code these prices over here. Maybe you want to create some kind of finance system that is going to contain all the different prices of these items, and then you can change the prices. Maybe you can reduce the prices or something like that. So there's a lot of things you can do, but we're just going to make it simple and add the prices for these items over here inside the actual list. Obviously, if you have another season, maybe you can increase the price of these items based on the season. So in a different season, it's going to cost more. So now we're going to close the buy system. We're going to close the inventory screen. There's one last thing that we need to do in order for this to work. We go into our inventory system and we're going to find this part over here. When we open one menu and we have another menu open and then we close one of these menus, we don't want to disable the cursor because we still have one menu open. This is only relevant for these kind of floating menus. If you have a full screen menu that only shows you one menu at a time, this is not even relevant. But for now, we want to add this condition over here. Let's also just make this look better. So we also want to check if the buy system instance shopkeeper is talking to player and if it's actually false, right? We check if it's actually false. And we need to take this parentheses over here. Okay. So if we are not talking to the shopkeeper, then this should not close and this should not happen because it means that we still have our buying system open, right? So if we have our buying system open, we don't want to lock the cursor. We don't want to make it invisible. We still want to use the cursor even though we closed the inventory. Now, if we scroll to the top, we have these current coins that we added, but at this point, we still don't have any money, right? We need to create some kind of UI to know the amount of money that we have. So for this, we're going to have a simple text over here. Let's say public text mesh pro, and this will be our currency UI. Okay, and inside the update method, we're simply going to set the currency UI text to be equals our current coins. Okay, so this currency UI will always display the current coins, so we can actually know the amount of coins we have, because the player has no access to all of these inspectors. He can only see the actual game, the actual UI, so we need to let him know what is the amount of coins that he has. And let's also add some kind of initial amount. Obviously in your game you can start with 0 and then gather items and sell them, or maybe complete quests and then receive money for these quests. But for now, for testing, let's just add 100 coins in the beginning of the game. We also want to add the actual UI for the currency, so we're going to add it on the inventory somewhere over here. Let's just create this UI text mesh pro. We're going to expand it and position it somewhere over here. We're going to change the font. We're going to make it bold and we're going to center it. And this will be empty, but when we actually add something, it's going to be updated. Obviously, you can make it look better. And now we need to add this reference into the inventory system. So we have our systems over here, inventory system. We're going to drag this currency UI over here. So we drag this currency UI into this slot, and now it's going to be updated. We can also add something next to it. For example, instead of just saying the number of coins, we can also add coins or something like that. Okay, now we're going to close the inventory screen. So now when we start the game, we should have 100 coins, and if we buy some seeds, we should decrease this amount. So let's see if everything is working. So if I open the inventory, I have 100 coins. We can see it over here. Now I tried to run the game and I got a problem that I did not expect, because I basically tried to close our inventory system before the buy system was opened. And what happens is that inside the inventory system, we added this check to check if the player is talking to the NPC. And if not, then we don't want to disable the cursor. So because of this, it's going to check our buying system before the buying system is actually active. So to fix this, we need to take the buying system outside of the UI. Okay, so we're going to do this over here, and this is something I did not expect, but we're going to deal with this. So we're simply going to say buy system. We're going to add the actual buy system component from this, so we don't need to set this all over again. We can simply click over here, copy component, and we're going to click on the buy system, and over here we're going to say paste component as new, and it's going to add the same copy for this component. And now we have all of these references. So now we can go to the buy panel and simply remove the component from this UI. So this will only be for the UI, but the actual buy system will be separate over here and it will always be active. Okay, so now it should work as well. Let's just make sure that all of these references are not lost. Okay, no problem. So now we can run it again. So now we run the game, we can open our inventory, we can close it, we can see these 100 coins. And now if we approach the NPC and we talk with him, we can of course leave, or we can click on the buy mode, the buying system, and it will open this UI. We can also open our inventory next to it, and now we can see all the different items that we have inside the inventory. So if we want to buy the pumpkin seeds, we can simply click over here and it should decrease the amount from the coins. So now we can see that we have one pumpkin seed inside our inventory, and this was decreased to 85. We can also add some tomato seeds, and if we buy more tomato seeds, it will stack them up into this one stack. So we also see that our stackable inventory is working. We can buy a few more of them. But if we reach 0 coins or not enough coins, you can see that both of these buttons were disabled, so we cannot buy these items because we don't have enough money for both of these seeds, right? We only have 5 coins. But we did buy all of these things, and now we can basically go plant. We can also click back to open this thing over here. We still have the inventory, we can close it, and now we can sell items, we can buy items. Of course, we still don't have the selling system. We're going to deal with that in the next episode. But the buying system is working, and you can simply add more items to this list. And this is also a scrollable list. So if you add more items and you have a very long list, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to add pages. You will simply scroll and it will show you all the different items that you have inside this list. So this is an idea. You can simply go into your resources and add, where is it? By panel, actually by system. And you can add the watering can. Where is it? Watering can. The watering can inventory item. So let's add another element. And we're going to drag the watering can over here. And this will cost us something like, let's say, 70 coins. And now we are going to be able to buy the watering can as well. So that's all for this episode. If you're still not subscribed, it will help me a lot. You can also become a member of this channel. It will support me even more. It will give you access to our Discord server so you can ask people for help. And of course, you can get more responses, faster responses from me because I will see your messages there and I will be able to help you. Sometimes I just don't see all of the different comments that I get in the regular way. So again, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.